It's time for PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin. Dr. Bob guides you through the latest veterinary techniques and procedures to keep your pets in the best of health. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. With your ears up and tails wagging, here is Dr. Bob.
Hello, pet lovers. Thank you for tuning in to PetSylvania. I'm Dr. Bob, and I am really excited to be here at the beginning of our second year on air at WSYL Radio. So I want to start off by thanking Esplin Medical, the maker of Comfy Scrubs, 55% bamboo, 25% cotton, 20% polyester, naturally antibacterial, environmentally friendly. They wash in cold water. They dry on fluff. They take less energy. They're breathable so that they are much more comfortable. I'm actually wearing Esplin Medical scrub bottoms to bed. I find it extremely comfortable, a way to go to bed and go to sleep more comfortable than in my regular PJs. You can purchase them at Sylvania Vet. We carry the full line of all four colors, navy blue, seal blue, Caribbean blue, and jade green. And we have them there, or you can buy them online at esplinmedical.com. Our next sponsor is Hills, makers of Science Diet and the Prescription Diet lines of foods. This is a highly sophisticated, science-oriented pet food company who is constantly striving to improve the quality of the products that they bring to market and bring new products to the market. The newest one is their foray into the niche market of grain-free diets and a diet called Ideal Balance. And I would tell you that there's no rational reason, and they would tell you the same thing. There's no rational reason to avoid grains, but there's a growing number of pet owners that want to. And rather than argue, let's just join the fight. We're going to go ahead and use the best quality ingredients. We're going to have it all. Everything is U.S. grown and U.S. manufactured. No imports from China. Coming from a company who has a stellar reputation, I highly recommend the Hills Company. Elanco, the maker of Trifexis, a truly game changer when it comes to the prevention of internal parasites, heartworm disease, and killing of fleas. We're right on the edge of when fleas are going to start to really rear their ugly head, and it would be wise to get your pet on flea control as well as heartworm control. And we recommend that those products all be used year-round. So Trifexis as a once-a-month pill is a great product. And our final sponsor, of course, is my office, Sylvania Vet, one of the three American Animal Hospital associated hospitals in Northwest Ohio. We are the one that have been here the longest. We've been AHA certified, inspected since 1978. Everybody else is kind of late bloomers in that regard. Not until did I have a AHA colleague till almost 2000. So we've been providing the highest quality care for the longest period of time in a veterinary hospital that's one owner, and we're very proud of the quality of care that we provide. Come take a tour anytime. We're at 4801 Holland Sylvania at Haroon. Call us anytime, 24/7. We will answer our own phones, 419-885-4421. Well, I have a couple questions, and I always love it when my listeners send questions. Tells me there's actually some listeners out there, which is always nice. I hate to be throwing all these words out into the ether and nobody picking them up, except of course the NSA, because they're listening to everything. Nice compliments here that they like to listen to PetSylvania and the great advice that I give. So Denise asks me, I usually clip my dog's nails, but I'm always worried about cutting too close to the quick and having them bleed to death. Is it really possible that this could happen? And if you do clip too close and it starts to bleed a bit, what is the best way to stop that bleeding? Well, I don't think it's realistic to think that a dog could bleed to death from a nail that's cut too short. Even if you rip the toe off, I think that the clotting mechanism would ultimately would stop that. So I don't think you'd have to worry about that. But God forbid it is a mess when they start to bleed like that. And of course, then they go running and they run all over the carpet and they run all over the kitchen floor and probably against the walls to try to get outside because it's hurt as well as bleeding. And you're trying to chase them and get them down. So here's a couple of guidelines for you. The closer you get to the skin of the toe is where the vessels are. That's going to be a darker pink, and as you get out towards the tip, if it's a light nail, it's going to be a lighter pink. If it's a black nail, it's a little harder, but there also tends to be a little bit of a hook on the nail, and so if you trim just the hook off, you're going to be okay. If you trim the hook and you look at the end of the nail, you don't see a spot. There's either going to be a dark spot in a dark nail or a pink spot in the pink nail. You can go a little bit more. So do your nail trimming little increments at a time, and it's not likely you will create a problem. Now, should you cut one too short, then I would recommend, if you're going to trim your dog's nails, just like you're going to go buy a nail trimmer, there's some powder out there called Moncel's powder. It's a yellow powder you can apply to the tip of the cut nail so that it'll stop the bleeding. And I would highly recommend that you have some of that quick stop along with a nail trimmer if you're going to do it. Cats need their nails trimmed sometimes as well. We're always happy to teach you how to do that. You come in, you pay for a nail trim, and we'll teach you how to do it and sell you the nail trimmer and everything you need. And now you're in the self-serve business here, and you can go ahead and do the rest of it yourself. But sometimes if a dog doesn't like it, one of the reasons why nail trims cost what they do is it takes two employees, a minimum, and sometimes 3, for us to trim nails on a big dog or a dog that they want. Even if it's a Chihuahua, it might take 6 hands in order to do it if they want to wiggle and jump and try to bite and do some of the things they do when they get frightened. Marcia asks me, and again, she thanks me for PetSylvania, and I'm happy to be here doing this. She says, with the weather turning warmer, I cheaped out and tried to trim the mats from my long-haired cat. Big mistake. I pulled the mat up, not realizing I was pulling her thin skin, and I went to cut the mat. She let out a yelp. I thought you might stress how important it is for a professional to be the one to trim your animals, or could we be looking at a vet bill along with a trim bill? Yeah, I saw a cat yesterday that had an older cat. Still, in their skin gets thinner, just like human skin gets thinner as we age. It is certainly a little bit more fragile, and if you get those hard mats, it's sometimes hard to see where the hair and the mat come together. And so, it is a good idea if there's a lot of mats on your pet, whether it be a dog or a cat, get it done professionally. They know what they're doing. That doesn't mean that they can't cut the skin too. It's been known to happen. The best thing to do is to prevent the mats from developing by using a good comb and combing in layers and get that deep hair out of there so it doesn't mat. And then a smaller comb where you can just kind of tease the hairs apart and out of the mat until it's ready to come. That may be a little hard for you to mentally picture how to do it. I did it on this kitty yesterday, and so I've got it fresh in my mind, but trying to describe it to you can be something of a challenge. One of the things that we get asked about a lot is invisible fence and the invisible fence-like products. Invisible Fence, of course, is a brand name, and it's a great, great product. I use it for my dogs, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But there are competitive products out there. There's some self-installed products out there. I will tell you that I think that Invisible Fence and the Dog Watch system are probably the 2 best. And I have had very poor success with families that have tried to do the self-install. It just doesn't seem to work. I don't know if it's not powerful enough or if it's not being installed properly, or it just the collars are not as effective. I don't know what the answer is, but Invisible Fence is a great system. The problem is that it doesn't keep animals out. So if you put your animal out on the Invisible Fence and you have strays in the area, you live rurally and God forbid there might be coyotes around or something, you have to be careful. If there's a lot of stray dogs, I'm not sure I think it's a great idea, because your dog's at risk. It will not be able to run out of the way because it'll be constrained by the Invisible Fence and the training that goes with that. Other than that, I think it's a great product. Most dogs learn after just 1 or 2 encounters with the collar and the fence what their parameters are. They don't go outside the Invisible Fence. And we'll be back. There's a lot of things around the house that can do damage to your pet's kidneys. Most of us know them, but it's never bad to remind them. There was a day, and it wasn't that many, it was maybe a decade ago, that nobody knew that grapes and raisins are toxic to dogs' kidneys. People would give grapes and raisins as treats. and never think twice about it. We began to learn that grapes can be highly toxic, raisins because they're a dried grape, equally toxic. And one of those small boxes of raisins, the size you would put in a lunchbox, has been reported to have created fatal kidney failure in a golden retriever. So put into a kind of a perspective, not that one grape or one raisin is going to be a bad thing, but you don't want to get the animal in the habit of liking those. Lilies of all kinds are toxic to kidneys, both for dogs and cats, but cats particularly. And you know how some cats just love to go after plants and chew plants. So you've got to be careful what you have in the house. And if you have lilies, you need to be super careful in a cat that, particularly if it likes to chew. We know that antifreeze is toxic to kidneys, and it doesn't take much. We got a call this week from somebody whose dog, about a 40-pound dog, licked the outside of an antifreeze container. You know, that's a very small amount. I mean, there couldn't have been much hanging around the outside of the antifreeze container. Really created a dilemma for us as to what to recommend for the client because of the extreme toxicity. As little as a teaspoon is probably enough to cause fatal kidney damage in a small dog or cat. And so we have to be super careful. I had a cat once that got antifreeze poisoning, and it just walked through the spilled antifreeze on the garage floor and then licked their feet, and that was enough to put it into kidney failure. We were able to treat that cat and save its life, but it was touch and go for quite a while. And then something that you may not think about it, but Advil, very toxic to kidneys, should never be used in dogs. Which then leads me to another story, and that is we had our seminar last month on pet foods, and one of the questions that was asked was, is it okay, my cat is having kidney problems, is it okay to use the urinary diets that are in the grocery store? And the answer to that really is no. We're talking about two different situations. The urinary diets were designed to help prevent the formation of struvite stones and obstruction problems in the male cat, inappropriate urinations secondary to inflamed bladder. All those things were, that's why urinary diets went on the market. Well, like a lot of things in life, this is one of these where the manufacturers felt, well, if a little is good, a lot must be better. And so now what they've created is a series of foods that are out there that no longer do what they originally designed to do, because it's now been learned that diet plays a very small role in the development of those inflammatory urinary bladder problems called feline lower urinary tract disease, and diet plays a very little role except to feed canned food by increasing water. It's created a problem in that they're over-acidified, and as a result, calcium oxalate stones now form in cat bladders that are being fed those urinary diets. In the client's case, in this case, her cat had kidney problems, and it's kidney insufficiency. They're no longer working as efficiently as they could, and as a result of that, drinking a lot of water, using the litter box a lot, of course, and that takes special food, prescription diet foods that are designed to restrict the phosphorus and restrict the protein and increase the quality of the protein to make it easier for the kidneys to handle and process the waste that comes from digestion of food and is excreted in the urine as urea. This is one of these deals where you really need to, before you go making diet changes because you think you're going to help, just call us, talk to us, talk to your veterinarian, and they're going to lead you in the direction that you want to go. I cannot emphasize to my cat-only owning listeners how silly it is and potentially dangerous to fatal it is to allow your cats to play with yarn, string, or anything linear like that, fishing line, whatever it is potentially really, really dangerous. We had a cat in this week. It was vomiting and it wouldn't get under control, and we took some x-rays and we saw abnormalities in the intestines, and we took it to surgery. We found an extremely small small nylon-like thread stuck underneath its tongue, and it had wound its way all the way through the intestine, and the intestine was all accordioned up on this. When that happens, the intestines move back and forth, and that, in this case, that either was fishing line or really strong thread, acts like a saw, and it did a tremendous amount of damage to the intestine, and it took 2 hours to be sure that the integrity of the intestine was saved, and we couldn't remove the bad sections because there was too much of the bowel involved, and we wouldn't have had any bowel left. So we had to work at saving those sections of damaged bowel. And as of today, everything is okay. There's no need to have your cat playing with that stuff. Put it away. Get it out of the habit. Be careful when you're done sewing. Don't stick it in the arm of the upholstered chair and leave it there for when you come back to keep darning socks or whatever it is you're doing. Do they darn socks anymore? I doubt it. I mean, first off, you lose one of the socks in the dryer almost every time you wash them. So I doubt if anybody takes the time to darn a sock anymore. Wonder where that word came from. I use darn it a lot, but it has nothing to do with my socks. Ear infections. Really important if your pet gets ear infections, and they are very prone. They live in a dirty world. They walk and then they scratch in the dirt, and then they scratch their ears, and they can introduce an infection. They go swimming or they get groomed and their ears get wet, and we don't do anything to get them dry. They have really deep ear canals. So a lot of dogs have floppy ears, and now that acts a little bit like a trap door, and it closes off that ear canal a little bit, and we don't get as much air circulation in there. So there's a lot of animals are allergic, and those allergic dogs are more prone, and cats are more prone to developing inflamed ears and ear infections. So regardless, what we end up having to do is that when we make a diagnosis of an ear infection is that we do a smear to find out what's going on. We try to demonstrate to the client the proper cleaning method, because dogs and cats both have very deep ear canals. It's important that you get medicine all the way down. And so make sure that you know how to do it. Don't think how to do it. I had a client in this week that all she was doing was taking about 4 drops of ointment and putting it on the very outside of the ear canal, almost as if you kind of cupped your hand and put a little ointment right in the center of that little cup, and thought, well, I'm going to treat my whole hand now with just that little bit that's there, rubbing it around but not spreading it out to the fingertips. In this case, she put it on the outer canal, but nothing got down to the deep canal. Nothing got anywhere near the eardrum. So this dog just has an ongoing problem. Well, now we've learned why it has an ongoing problem. We have a shot at clearing it up. If cleaning it using a cleaning solution and then treatment doesn't do it alone, we need to do an ear flush. And you want to use a video scope so you can identify the eardrum, so you can see the eardrum, you can assess the eardrum's health, and yet when you're in there working, that you're not going to damage the eardrum as well. So a video scope is extraordinarily important. We're roaring into the season of the year that we call allergy season. People are going to start getting hay fever, and it's going to come. Everybody wants to use Benadryl or chlorpheniramine or Tavist or one of the many antihistamines that are out on the market, over the counter, Claritin. And unfortunately, in dogs and cats, and mostly in dogs, those antihistamines just do not work well. And so you can always try them, but statistically we know that about 10% of the allergic dogs are the dogs that are going to respond to the antihistamines. That's not a very good response for a dog who's shaking its head, scratching, and keeping you awake at night with the tags on its collar jangling. It's going to take a visit. It's going to take some diagnostics, get the right treatment going, and we have to use fairly potent anti-inflammatories to control a dog's allergies. Time to take a break, and we'll be back. Back to wrap it up. I cannot believe how quickly the PetSylvania broadcasts go. And we had a case a couple of weeks ago that I think that you might find interesting to hear about. And that is, we saw a dog a month after an injury to its foot had occurred. It's a Labrador, and it loved to run around in the corral with the horses. And the horse came down on this poor dog's front foot, It broke all of its carpal bones. And there are 4 carpal bones. Look at your hand and forget the thumb, all right? And when you look at your hand, the part above the knuckles, between the knuckles and the wrist, that's called the carpal bones. Every one of those was broken and displaced. A rural veterinarian up near where this dog lived tried to get it to heal by putting a splint on there. There's no chance. It would never heal. There's not a chance that could do that because there's no stability in those fractures, and they can't be properly aligned, and they can't be kept in place. And you have to go to surgery. So if a dog or a cat breaks 2 or more of the bones in the foot, the carpal bones, then they need to be stabilized with surgery. If you've got 1, you probably can get away with it. If you've got 2 and it's there's a solid wood next to it, you might get away with that healing. But if you've got 2 that are right next to each other that are broken, or you've got 3 out of 4 broken, they got to go to surgery and have pins inserted to line them up and stabilize them, and then they'll heal. Dog is doing great. We did the surgery on it. Dr. Melanie and Dr. Jen did the surgery on it. Everything went great. It's going to be another probably 6 weeks or so before we could take x-rays and then pull the pins, but we fully expect a complete recovery. Of course, dog's a little bit of his own worst enemy and won't leave the splint on and the cut protected, but at least the pins are there. They're holding the bone solid. I want to thank Elanco, the makers of Trifexis, once-a-month pill that's given orally to your dog. You want to do it on the 1st of every month is the best way to remember. Even if you forget and you give it on the 5th of July, then what you're going to do is you're going to give it on the 1st of August, and you just get back on that 1st of the month schedule. Trifexis prevents internal parasites, roundworms, hookworms, whipworms. It prevents heartworm disease, that's mosquito-transmitted heartworm disease, and it kills fleas. So the minute the flea gets on there, and if your pet has Trifexis in it, that flea bites the dog, it's going to die. There's nothing better than a dead flea. Hills, the makers of Science Diet, the prescription diet, metabolic diet is a game changer when it comes to weight loss. We are having tremendous success. I had an opportunity to talk to a client yesterday about how her English bulldogs, who were both significantly overweight, and one of them is down in a period of about 8 weeks, which is faster than we might have expected, is down within 2 pounds of our goal weight, and the other dog is within the range of the goal weight, and as a result, that's great success. And the dogs have not been ravenous, and they've not been doing any increases in exercise, which in this case is really beneficial because one dog has some pretty bad joints and it really can't exercise very much. Esplin Medical, the makers of high quality, comfy scrubs, environmentally friendly, bamboo, cotton, and polyester. When you look at other scrubs that are out there, they're mostly 65% or more polyester. Even Grey's Anatomy, which is supposedly the best on the market, is all artificial fiber. It's a Lycra type product along with polyester. It's just not that great. Esplin Medical Comfy Scrubs aren't on TV right now, so we don't have quite the market penetration that we'd like to have. And then Sylvania Vet, and there's lots of ways to hear about and learn about Sylvania Vet. 13 ABC, Get Connected. It's a great place, 3-minute video for you to look at. On K100, we advertise on the Steel and Shore show, and it's also streaming on their website, so you can learn and hear about us there. We publish a monthly newsletter on our website called the FYI for Pet's Sake. You can go on our website, www.sylvaniavet.com, register for free, and get a monthly newsletter from us. I just finished writing July's today, so it's going to come out right after the 1st of July. We advertise in Sylvania Advantage. We advertise in the Toledo City paper. We write an article for Buzz Magazine. And, of course, WSYLradio.com. We're on here every week, so thank you. And remember, there's only one greatest pet, and it lives in your home.
You have been listening to PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin on WSYLradio.com. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. Tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. as Dr. Bob explains the latest in veterinary care and answers your questions. You can email your pet questions to requests@WSYLradio.com and Dr. Bob will answer them on a future show.